Welcome to About Women for Women with Dr. Kamila. How to find balance and joy in perimenopause and beyond. We bring together psychology and biology, spirituality and science, personal stories and professional insights for the benefit of all. I hope you enjoyed this episode. My guest today, my first guest, is Emily Foster. Emily, welcome, very warm welcome to you. You
Thank
joining
you.
us from Alaska, from America. Let me introduce you professionally. Emily Foster began her holistic learning journey in 2001 when she became licensed massage therapist. From there, she found other holistic certifications and avenues of learning that truly supported her desire to help people understand their bodies and how to create lasting health. These include functional nutritional therapy, advanced gut healing and adrenal work, hormone balance and replenishment, blood chemistry, and master clinician through the Nutritional Therapy Association and the Institute for Restorative Health. She also studied with Dr. Anna Kabeka. She currently lives and practices in Palmer, Alaska, where she's not at her office. She spends time with her husband and children, enjoying outdoors and traveling. Welcome, Emily. Is there anything else you would like to add? Did I miss anything?
No, nope, that's pretty comprehensive.
Today, we're going to start with an episode about mental load or invisible load of perimenopause because we both work with women in perimenopause. You are a nutritionist, I'm a clinical psychologist and functional medicine practitioner, so there is a big overlap in what we do. Uh,
Yes.
and I think when we first met, we just really couldn't stop talking.
Yeah, so much to talk about.
My intention for starting this podcast is to have conversations I wish I had, I wish I could listen to when my perimenopause journey started. 15 years ago, really, when I had my first symptoms. And I would like to talk about things that women go through quietly. They often feel alone with the decisions they have to make without support, and often, looking for information, in the middle of the night on Google. I wish they had more support from professionals like you and my other future guests. So that's the intention behind this podcast. Before we dive into our topics today, what is your own experience of perimenopause? Has it touched your life personally, or has it come to you through the women that you work with?
Both for sure. I am 44. I'll be 45 in October, so 45 is sneaking up on me very quickly. And for about the last year, I have been noticing it's gotten better since I uh, remembered that I am a nutritional therapist and I am certified in taking care of hormones and started applying these things to myself that I've been telling people, my clients. But I remember last spring and summer, I remember that my anger just felt so close to the surface all the time. I felt very irritable, but I didn't really feel irritable. All the people around me were just being idiots. Right? That's the problem, right? We talked about this bullshit meter. My threshold had just been hit, and I was so tired of dealing with people and like just everything. I was just so aggravated all the time, which is a symptom of perimenopause. Extra irritability and just some other things like it just was starting to gain a little bit of weight and just feeling like gosh this I'm exercising and doing these things and it's not coming off very well and um just random things were popping up. I noticed that my sex drive just wasn't where it used to be, and I'm very attracted to my husband, and we've enjoyed a very healthy sex life the whole time we've been married, and but all of a sudden it's just like, oh, I'm just not as interested as I was, and orgasms seem to be a little more difficult to come by. It's like, oh, this like then nothing seems to be really interested in participating. And it wasn't until I was at a conference last September where I listened to a lady speak on perimenopause, and she listed out all of these symptoms, and it just brought it to the forefront of my mind, like, oh, I'm not going crazy here. these are
This
like
is
all of these symptoms. This is real. I'm starting to go through this now. So, fortunately, I didn't, really feel a lot of perimenopausal symptoms until I was, just before 44, which is kind of nice. Um, but then of course once I was like, oh, of course this is what I'm going through. Okay, well then I tweaked the supplements I was taking, and kind of rebalanced and refocused things, and I feel much better now. so so I was able to apply my own learning to my own life, to for the benefit of my poor husband and for my own sanity, right? But I see this in perimenopause, or with my clients all the time in perimenopause and menopause, that they're that they explain to me like, this is how I used to be, and now I'm this, and I don't even recognize myself, and I don't even, I just don't understand what's changed. And especially if they're still cycling regularly, they're like, what's changed? Nothing's changed. I'm still cycling, nothing, and it's difficult to ferret out where these symptoms are coming from. And
yes,
perimenopause is very interesting because it is not diagnosable. This is something that women work with their doctors with. And I shared a study a while ago in the presentation that I did for the International Women's Group, when I came to visit Crete, that there was a paper written, I want to say in like a British Journal of Medicine or something, and they said that perimenopause is basically diagnosed through listening to women, and
mhm,
and basically like letting them list their symptoms. There's
yes,
not any specific test that you can do to, blood work specifically, or anything that's really going to show you that you're in perimenopause. It's really just it's a broad range of symptoms, and if you're having them, and you're feeling this shift, that doctors should be listening to women as they, describe these symptoms.
yes, absolutely. And actually, that is the reason why I started the In Her Body platform. Because in the UK, I don't know how it is like in America, but in the UK, standard consultation lasts 8 minutes. So in 8 minutes,
Yeah.
you have to, like, if you have to list, all the symptoms, and for the GP to actually listen and take note of it, you have to come with literally lists, so you don't get distracted and you just give them all this. But also, women don't realize that there is like over 100 symptoms of perimenopause, and you are completely correct saying that there is no diagnosis, so you cannot have a blood test. Of course, later on in just premenopause, your hormones will be lowered, but actually in the initial stages of perimenopause, the hormones are fluctuating and they are just slightly reducing. So you may well
Mhm.
be just within normal range. It's just,
Right.
if the doctor doesn't compare it with where you were 5 years ago or 10 years ago, if you have been
Right.
to the same GP or the same practitioner, then you are within normal range and everything seems fine. However,
Right.
if you are kind of like later on in perimenopause and you take it on the wrong time of the day, or maybe just a different time in your cycle, then
Hmm.
one day your progesterone may be fine and next day progesterone may not be fine, and same with estrogen. So in perimenopause is this specific period where typical blood tests are not reliable, so we cannot base diagnosis
Correct.
on the blood test but on the list of symptoms. So exactly,
Yep.
so when you went to that conference and the person listed all the symptoms and you were like, tick, tick, this is where kind of the penny drops in, isn't it?
Yes, yes, yes.
You have used your own medicine, you adjusted your diet, your supplements, and that you are much, much better now, a year on or a year and a,
Hmm.
since that
Yep.
moment, and things have settled. So this is a great example that, like, you use the medicine not just with your clients, but with yourself. You use your knowledge to optimize your own body.
That's actually why I got into all of this to begin with. I thought not so much the massage therapy. I actually was going to use the massage therapy to put myself through college because I had a different major in mind. But after I was married and started to have children, I thought, I remembered asking my mother a lot of questions about, why am I have, why do I have, achy legs sometimes at nighttime? And, oh, it's just growing pains because you're tall. And, like there's a lot that she didn't know. She wasn't, into medicine. She wasn't into any of that. And so she was just doing the best that she could. And I thought I would like to give my family more. I would like to have more answers, for myself and to help my family more. And so I actually got into all of these other certifications really to help my own family members. I have a sister that struggles with Hashimoto's, thyroid problems run in my family. Yeah, just lots of things going on. And I just thought I would like to better serve my family, with this knowledge and be able to help people. And if I can help, other people along the way, then that's great. It kind of came full circle for me, this whole learning journey, and then I was able to use this on myself.
Very typical story for a helping professional. My story is very similar. Like all the
Mm.
things that I have studied was because of my personal interest. So not just psychology, because that is very typical. So every therapist, psychologist, or doctor, they just want to heal something, either in their family or in themselves.
Right. Yep.
But later on, when I had those symptoms at age 32, after 10 years of being on contraceptive pill, then I stopped contraceptive pill. Of course, my body wasn't
Yes.
producing my own hormones, and I had
Mm.
perimenopause symptoms. Even though I wasn't technically in perimenopause, I was having night sweats 3 times a night. I was like walking like zombie, and everyone was telling me that everything's fine. Your hormones are normal. You're okay. You're doing.
Yeah, yeah.
This is why I decided to study functional medicine. For the first 2 years, I was looking to, I was seeing nutritionists and Chinese medicine practitioner and Ayurvedic medicine practitioner. I was looking
Yes.
at all those things. And at some point, my friend, who is a nutritionist as well, said, Camila, why don't you do the course yourself? I was like, wanted to learn for my own health.
Yeah.
When I've learned all this, I started using it with my clients. So there was a time about 10 years ago when, as a clinical psychologist, I was looking at people's bloods, even though it's not written into my profession. I was sending them for stool tests. I was suggesting nutritional adjustments to their diet and supplements and so on, because a lot of how our mental health works is related to our gut and what we eat. And you will
Mhm.
know better than anyone that that is true. Our neurotransmitters, our hormones,
Mhm.
everything is built. Our muscles, literally everything is built from the food we put in our mouth. So today we're going to talk about the invisible load of perimenopause. The kind of mental load, the stress, and how it affects women's health, because that is a topic that you are also very passionate about, from what I know. We know both that most women carry this every single day, and you are a mom of four, if I remember correctly, yes?
Yep. Yep.
Usually in the UK, women don't have four children. They usually have one or two, but you are a mom of four. So your load is probably even bigger than a typical woman that might be listening to this podcast. There is a name for it, invisible load. Anyone hearing that term for the first time, they may not know what it is. So can you please talk about it? Can you explain it? Explain it from your perspective, your personal perspective and perspective of your clients, or just theoretically, however you wish.
So I was introduced to this term, mental load and invisible work, by my sister, who she has a master's in political science with an emphasis on women's studies, which I think is so interesting. She has a lot of really fabulous information. She always sends me, different articles written and published by very, well-known organizations, and several of them have talked about this mental load that women carry. They give the example that, typical American mom, I don't know how this probably is very similar in Europe, but mom has the kids enrolled in soccer practice, and dad comes home from work and says, here, I'm going to help. He's going to help out, and let me drive the kids for you. I'll take the kids to soccer practice tonight. You can have a break. And oh, thank you so much. And so dad takes the kids to soccer practice, and everyone's like, oh, what a great dad, what a great dad. You're doing so well. And that is good that he's helping, but it was the mom who registered the kids for soccer practice, is the mom who washed all their uniforms to make sure that they were ready to go. She organized the carpool list, so that that was all, taken care of with the other, families involved. And she packed all the snacks and got the water bottles filled and did all the things, you know. And it's all of those things that we do on a daily basis. Most women, even if you don't have children, in a relationship, it's very common for women to have the invisible load, the invisible work of doing the kin keeping. Who remembers the anniversaries, the birthdays? Oh, it's grandma's birthday. We're gonna send her a card. Oh, it's your parents' anniversary. Let's send them a card. Oh, it's this person. Like she's like this mastermind behind the organization that keeps everything running smoothly. And it can be more than that as well. I mean, it's all of these things that are just kind of unsaid expectations. They're just not verbalized. Like this is just, well, who's going to do them? Well, I don't know, the man's at work. That's his job, and not to say that that's not valuable, to have a contributing partner who takes care of finances that way. When domestic chores need to be split more evenly, we look a lot at how that contributes to the overall psychological health of women and how that impacts their physical health as well. That stress load we've talked about, that cortisol steal, how your body can only produce cortisol or pregnenolone, which is the precursor to all the rest of your sex hormones and your oxytocin and your positive hormones. It can choose one or the other. It doesn't have the resources for both at the same time. As we look at me personally in my job, part of what I do as kind of an overall health coach is addressing both, this mental load with women as well as their physical symptoms, because they're absolutely interconnected.
And this is what I love about your work, that it's very similar to mine, almost like a mirror image, because even though you're a nutritionist, you're addressing the psychological side of, of all this that women are going through, because, like you say, they are the mastermind behind the whole family and they are running it. And I do the same as a psychologist. I kind of help to adjust them, maybe their nutrition supplements or their lifestyle, but actually I focus mainly on their psychology. The example that you gave maybe is more typical for America, but in the UK, women are not necessarily stay-at-home moms. Stay-at-home
Right,
moms, they are
right.
actually working as well. So they have their
Mhm.
job, they have running the house, they have the kids and remembering everyone's birthdays and organizing kids parties and everything else, house chores and everything else. So it's not just that woman is at home, which is like what you said. I agree with what you
Mhm.
said. It's a big job in itself.
That's actually where it becomes even more compounded, and
Yes.
where women struggle the most is when, okay, well, they're doing an 8-hour daily job just like the man is.
Yeah.
And so you come home and it's like, okay, so how are we going
The
to
dinner.
yeah, who's going to cook the dinner? How are we going to split these chores so
Yeah.
that one person isn't getting burnt out? It's very much a problem in America. I sent you some links and a book recommendation
Mhm.
that I think all people living with a partner or married people should read that book together. Like because there's just things that men just don't think about. For example, I hate to talk bad about my ex. We'll leave his name anonymous. But when I was married the first time, my ex all the time came home and he would say, "You are so lucky. You don't even know how lucky you are that I, go out and work so that you can have the easy job of staying home with the kids. You don't even know how good you have it. I mean, I couldn't complain or vent about anything because I had the easy job. And so there was a period of time where he was laid off from work. And I said, well, this will be good because I can go to work. And so I worked temporarily with a chiropractor to do massage, and I was gone for not quite 8 hours a day, but a good chunk of the day. And every day that I came home, the house was clean and the kids were calm and quiet and dinner was made. And I said, and he was like, "See, this is easy. I don't know what you're complaining for. This is fine." And I said, "So let's talk about what you did today. You did clean up, which is part of life. That's good. You did feed the kids. I'm glad they're not starving, you know, and the house does look very calm and organized." I said, "Here's what my day looks like. After I feed the kids breakfast, I might get a call from someone at church. Oh, so and so just had a baby. Can you make a dinner to take over to, this person? "Oh, yeah, sure, no problem. Okay, so I'm gonna make an extra dinner," or, a big double batch of dinner and take that and take the time to run it over to her house, so she can stay home with the baby. And, oh, it's those days that he stayed home just happened to be days that the kids didn't have anything going on. So, "Oh, wait, normally I'm taking so and so to gymnastics." And, "Oh, yeah, and so and so over here has a piano lesson." And and, "Oh, yeah, I already had the fridge full of groceries, so you didn't have to go to the grocery store to get the ingredients to make the food. So I took care of the shopping already for you. Oh, and sometimes when I'm shopping, oh, the onions are on sale, so I buy extra onions to chop and put in the freezer so that I have those for the future. Oh, and sometimes you call me from work and say, "Hey, can you go to the post office? I need this package picked up." Okay, so I run and do that. So I said the day is full, oh, and sometimes the kids have activities at school and I have to take them, it's family game night at the school. So we have to get ready for that. And, oh, this was a potluck thing at church over here. So we had to go to so I said, my day is so much more than just stay home and play with the kids, which is what his perception was, right? And that's where this invisible load comes from. He is at work all day. He's not seeing all the tiny nuances of my day and how my schedule shifts and changes. And oh, randomly, this kid woke up and is sick today. So everything that I had to do is put on hold because I'm now taking care of a sick child. There's just so much going on.
Actually applies not just to women who are married and they have children. Some women, some families, when they don't have children, they still have to run the house. They still have to do the shopping. They still have to.
Absolutely, and they're very involved in their communities, like, you have, town meeting to go to, and, "Oh, this project is going on," like, there's lots and lots going on all the time.
There is also the same side applies to single people at the moment. Well, I am also
Mhm,
divorced. So, uh, like when you have your work, your full-time work, or when you work for yourself like me, it's not 9 till 5. It's like whenever you wake up until when, like it's weekends, it's all the time. But
yes,
there is no sharing of the responsibility. So if I don't do the shopping, the fridge is empty. If I don't
right,
fix something or pick up a parcel or whatever, so it's like you have to manage everything on your own. So whether the load is because of being in a partnership, whether the load is because of having children and a big family, whether the load is from having this plus work, or whether the load is from working full time and kind of running your own household, there is
mhm,
a invisible load that has an effect on our hormones in perimenopause specifically. So from the psychology point of view, it may feel overwhelming. It may feel like your mind never switches off because like there
mhm.
is this thing to do if we don't write down, and our memory in perimenopause can go, and concentration and so on. So I work with women who are stressed, who kind of find it harder to deal with the things that they used to deal with without a problem. And now all of a sudden it's a bit heavier. From your point of view as a nutritionist, what do women complain about, and what kind of things do you advise them to deal with that invisible load? How does it display itself? How does it show itself in your clients?
I think that women, they hit that perimenopause time, and they tell me, I don't know what's changed. Nothing in my schedule has changed, nothing in my life has really changed, but I just feel like I can't stay on top of everything anymore. I'm just getting burnt out. I'm getting tired. I can't do this. I can't. It's not sustainable. And as we talk about the physiological side of things and how this, perimenopause is an unmasking, that these symptoms were always there, but you had enough testosterone and estrogen to kind of mask all of it. And, everyone can sustain, some amount of output for a while, but if it's more than what you really can do, that's when you start to get that burnt out feeling. You've got to change things up. You've got to make some changes. And I always ask women, if they're really struggling, mentally with something, I always ask them, I'm not a counselor, so I always ask them, do you have a counselor? Do you have someone that you can talk to? Because I'm happy to listen to you vent, but that's not really my purview. and you need someone that can probably give better advice than I can. And really what that comes down to is carving out time for themselves. Carving out time for you to see your counselor, for carving out that time when my husband is tired, he takes a rest. He doesn't ask my permission, and he doesn't need to. And women should be able to do the same thing. Like when we're tired, okay, we take a rest.
For me as a psychologist is that all the work we do, we don't even call work. So we don't think we need to have a break from it because we don't see it as
Right.
work. If you are at work and you feel there is too much on your plate and there are too many projects and too many clients to manage or whatever is your responsibility, when it becomes too much, you may speak to your supervisor or someone and say, I need a little break. I need kind of like to step back. But when
Right.
it's just day to day running the household, managing the kids and everything else, you don't see it as work. So you don't think that you can even take a break because it's just life. And this is where things are getting more tricky for women in perimenopause because we have the expectation that things will be okay, that with our that we can handle it, but because of the hormones that are dropping, we cannot handle things as well. We have less patience, let's say we have less progesterone, so we are not as calm, let's say, before the
Mhm, mhm,
we're not sleeping as well. Our testosterone is dropping, so we don't have as the same amount of oomph and motivation and maybe
mhm.
focus as we did. The estrogen is dropping, so that is affecting on our blood sugar balance. So the choices we may make in terms of like how to fuel ourselves may not be as good as if the estrogen was high, and that leads in a longer term to insulin resistance, let's say. The estrogen dropping means that we are losing the muscles. Muscle is an endocrine organ. So
Mhm.
if we're losing muscles year after year after year after year, and it happens for both men and women, it's just for women,
Right,
it happens at much higher rate. We are just not coping as well. Our bodies are stressed from the inside. Would you agree with
right.
that?
Yep, absolutely.
What would be the typical advice? Like, I know that everything is personalized. I know you take the history, of course, and you are
Mhm.
working with women depending on what they bring to you. But are there any recommendations that you have that would help women kind of bring more balance? From the nutrition point of view, you said to take time for themselves, but that from more like psychology point of view or mental load, but from the nutritional point of view, is there anything that you recommend to most women in perimenopause?
The timeout for themselves is actually part of that physiological component because that helps to reset your oxytocin.
Yes.
So taking that time out for yourself, forget your list of things to do and put on that stupid movie that just something brainless for yourself, something that is just relaxing and, or enjoy some time with your partner or go on a hike or do something that will help to reset that oxytocin because oxytocin works on a positive feedback loop. The more you do that, the more you do those relaxing things, the more it will kick your body into an oxytocin mode versus a cortisol mode, which just helps things function overall. So I always stress like that's is not just a mental thing that helps you reset, but it actually does have physiological repercussions. But I
Yes.
said that's a good place to start because it's free. You don't have to buy supplements, you don't have to buy specific food,
Yes.
right? Just take that break for yourself. But then
And
as
actually,
we
just before you carry on, I actually 2 weeks ago I did a workshop on finding joy in perimenopause, and I was talking a lot about
mhm.
oxytocin and how oxytocin cannot be produced when we
Yep.
feel stressed and when we don't feel safe. So you are absolutely right that like if you do those things that will boost or kind of create the environment for the body to produce
Mhm.
oxytocin, it will have a positive impact on the rest of your physiology. Absolutely.
Yes. Yep,
Yeah.
yep, absolutely. So yeah, that's always first and foremost is really examine your life and see where you can carve out more time for yourself because I haven't met one single woman who has not been overspent in her energetic output or her emotional output or even physiological output for a very long time, years, even decades. So it's okay to take that time and re-examine things. But then I always, we go over, some basic physiology as things change. We need to get more into ketosis. And people always kind of roll their eyes, oh, I don't want to eat keto. They think cream cheese and bacon. Like that's what they think when they think keto.
No, that's not a woman's
And
keto. No.
that's not a women's ketosis. So Dr. Anna always, she calls it keto green. We need to be eating keto green where we get lots of good high quality protein and lots of good vegetables, especially cruciferous vegetables that help to support our not only our gut health but our natural detoxification of our own hormones. So we really that sulforaphane in cruciferous vegetables is really helpful. So I always tell women if you can do that and cut out the sugar, that a lot of times, I don't know what it looks like in Europe, but I see lots of women who are just burnt out. And when they start to get tired in their, early 30s because they're running the household or, running kids, whatever it is, they start like, okay, well, Coke and Pepsi become the go-to,
Mm,
and, some lots of sugar and quick energy that's not, it's just not sustainable. And I tell them this actually contributes to your hot flashes. When you start to get rid of the excess sugar and carbs, you will, once you get over the addiction withdrawal of that, then your body will actually be more appreciative of you, and you'll start to see these symptoms kind of fade off. You won't have the crazy hot flashes anymore. It'll, things will start to settle. You'll start to sleep better. Let's get that, get your adrenals regulated a little bit better. Don't push it when you feel that crash at 4 o'clock p.m., and you just can't go anymore. So you want to reach for that Coke or you want a candy bar, quick because you got to keep going for the rest of the day. Let's talk about some supplements that will help, some good adaptogens. Let's get you on some good, a super green powder, something that will give you nourishment in, to sustain that energy instead of
yeah.
garbage that's just going to contribute to the problem in the long run.
Absolutely. This is like amazing. Like what you just said, you just like even if women apply what you said now, they will already feel the difference. I'm pretty sure.
Yes.
Because it really doesn't take that much for the body to come back to balance.
We are made to heal. Our bodies are designed to heal. Yep.
Exactly. So if we support the body slightly, it will almost like we just create the memento and it will come back to some kind of.
Yes.
Women are told that perimenopause is all about hormones. And that's it. But how much of that a woman feels at midlife, the exhaustion, the overwhelm, the symptoms, is it really about her carrying this invisible load for decades? How much is about hormones and how much is about, all the things she's been doing for the last 20 or 30 years?
I don't think you can separate them. And it's kind of like what came first, the chicken or the egg? Like is it the declining hormones that are creating this lack of energy so she can't follow through anymore as much as she could? Or is that she's been on burnout because of the overload, because of this invisible work that she's done forever and she's exhausted? I think that it's very telling with statistics with thyroid disorders, with autoimmune disorders. Women are much more likely than men to be affected by these things. I think that alone is very telling. Not, I mean, women do, we do share our biological resources with the children that we carry. But
Mhm.
even for women that haven't had babies, this holds true. Like women globally, struggle more with health conditions than men
Mhm.
do. And
Yeah.
well, why is that? Our hormones are made to fluctuate. Our bodies are designed for change. We carry
Mhm.
babies, we don't carry babies. We start cycling, we stop cycling. There's a lot of change that happens in those years. So our bodies are designed to do that and carry that physiological load of change.
Yeah.
So why do we struggle so much more? I think because when these statistics apply not only to women who have had babies, but to women who have never had children, I feel like that's really the only thing that it comes back to is that women globally carry this invisible load.
Okay.
We're just doing more emotional work and a lot of behind the scenes things that
Okay.
just don't get given the credit for.
Okay, but do you think either from your experience or your personal experience, or maybe from the people that you worked with, if a woman doesn't have such a big load, invisible load in her life, do you think she would have the same amount of symptoms going through perimenopause, or do you think her perimenopause journey would have been or could have been a bit lighter if she didn't carry this load for years? Because what I was trying to get or to establish is whether things just accumulate in the body, because we had a conversation before about the fact that perimenopause just unmasks something that has been there before. So if we didn't have all this invisible load in our life, if we didn't have to like have those daily hassles and stressors and like do all the chores, then when the perimenopause come for that woman, do you think she would suffer as much as the woman who has 4 children and is managing the whole household and is holding the job and doing everything else?
I wouldn't say that it doesn't play a role, but everyone is so bio-individual. It depends. I mean, if you have a woman that hasn't had much of an invisible load to worry about, like say she has a very balanced, work and home life and doesn't have children to care
If it
for, and
exists, if
if
it
it exists,
exists.
right? If this perfect scenario exists, then that definitely would definitely contribute to how well she handles perimenopause. But
Mhm.
what if she hasn't had the knowledge of nutrition? What if she's lived on garbage her whole life because
Yes.
she
Yeah.
ate fast food all the time and was, medicated out the yin yang because she was heavily into Western medicine and,
Yeah.
and all of these things. She might have just as difficult a time because of the
Mhm.
physiological load of,
Yeah.
trying to deal with that through perimenopause. So it just depends. It's so nuanced for everyone.
I think it does depend on individual story. But what I say to most of my clients is that the quality of their health or how well their nervous system is functioning before going into perimenopause will to an extent dictate how easy or how difficult her symptoms will be. Whether she will have more debilitating symptoms or whether it will be she will experience some difficulties but
Oh,
maybe
for
not
sure.
so badly. So if a woman has good habit of like looking after her diet and exercise and sleep, then she will be already at a better place to start with than a woman who has just been managing, has just been like getting holding things together, like managing the household, doing the job, and so on. And then perimenopause hits, and then she is just knocked down.
Absolutely. That it definitely, the stress load. I always tell my clients, our bodies get very good at doing what we ask it to do regularly. So if, your body may have gotten really good at just dealing with being pummeled with stress
Mhm.
your
Yeah.
whole adult life, and so when you hit perimenopause, you start to crash because it's
Yeah.
like, okay, well, I've dealt with this without complaint, but now without these hormones, I can't do this anymore,
Okay.
So we can see that. And same thing on the flip side of that. If you have, trained your body to choose that the oxytocin pathway instead of the cortisol pathway, your body's definitely going to be more prepared to handle those changes. Interesting as I've been working on pre and postnatal nutrition class, and
Mhm.
the shocking statistic with that I learned is that postpartum depression, women's mental health after baby, is pretty much directly connected to how much support they have when they have a very supportive husband, or if they're a single mom, if they have a very supportive community, they're, whatever that looks like, they know that they are supported and they have enough care, that they know that someone is looking after them, that someone is looking out for them and helping them through that hard time, even if their labor and delivery was hard and they have a hard recovery, if they know they are supported, that makes all the difference in the world for how much they struggle with postpartum depression. And I think that for all of the changes that women go through, it is the same for them, for with perimenopause and with menopause. My husband has always been very good. My second husband has always been very good at counting my days until my period. He's always been very aware like, "Oh, this is, this is your ovulation week. Let's make sure that we take care of you. Here, let's, oh, I can see like I can see that you're starting to get irritable. What can I do to help take some stress off of you? Like I can see that, that you're starting to struggle, which is a very healthy way to have a relationship with someone. Men, they just don't have as complex of bodies as women do, and they should be involved. They should be aware, and I think that the more support a woman has, instead of going, "Oh gosh, honey, I just feel like I'm going crazy. I'm just so stressed about whatever," and he says, "Well, figure it out." Like
Yes.
that's way different than someone going, "Oh, you know what? Okay, how can I take some stress off your plate?
Yes. Yeah.
How can, how let me do this for you tomorrow so that you can spend some time, finding a good doctor to work with you, or, whatever that looks like for that couple. But when you have a supportive partner, when you have a supportive network, that I think that has to make a huge difference in the amount of stress, instead of just feeling like she has to keep performing for everybody, including her spouse or her husband or, whoever, instead of feeling like she just is under the gun and no one is on her side, that can help a lot too.
Remember, it's a teamwork.
Yeah,
Household is just two people running it. It shouldn't be just one, and the other one, the husband becomes like the another child to manage and to
right.
cook for, to wash for, to do everything for. But
Yeah,
a team member, someone who is like seeing, okay, I'm struggling. Okay, I'll take a higher load today. And oh, you are having a bad day. Okay, I'll do 60% today. I'll forward what it's like it's
yeah.
yeah. So
It has
you
to be. It has to be a partnership. And it doesn't always have to be an equal partnership. You're going to have days where, like you said, someone has to take 60 or even 80%. Maybe if you're really sick, your husband might have to, or your partner might have to do everything, for a few days while you're sick, and vice versa. It should be a thing where there's balance can be found through both sharing that load.
and this is also what I bring to my work with clients. So sometimes when I work with men, I educate men about women's cycle and how to support them and how to communicate. Or when I work with women, I also help women to educate their men, their partners, about what they need, because men are very kind of task oriented. They give solutions. Sometimes we women literally just need to offload. We just need
Hmm.
to don't need any solution. We will find our solution. Just be there. Do not do
Yeah,
anything. So one practice, for example, that I suggest to women is to, whether they do it with their friends, with their girlfriends, with their husbands, with their partners, it's just like ask specifically, ask me, do you want support or do you want solution? If someone wants solution from me, or if I want solution, and if I say it, we kind of switch the brain to think differently, to look for holes and what can be filled, and
right.
that makes a real
Yeah.
difference.
It really does. That's actually one of the things that super attracted me to my husband when we were dating. My second husband, I don't remember what it was. I came home from work or did something and I just, I'm so frustrated at, and he said, "Wait, wait." He said, "Are you looking for solutions or do you just need to talk?" And I just said, "Bravo. You're amazing." And I didn't even, and it was really good because it made me stop and think too, "Oh, am I just bitching about this? Or do I really wanna find a solution? What do I need out of this?" So it was helpful for me as well.
Last question before we finish today. If a woman listening to this tonight decides to put down one thing from her mental load, from her invisible work, from all the things we talked about that she probably carries and doesn't even realize she carries, what would you tell her is the good thing to start? What could she put down that would, from your perspective, make the biggest difference?
Probably worrying about pleasing other people. I think that's
Mm.
such a big women become such people pleasers. I don't know a lot of women who, I mean, I don't know a lot of people in general who avoid who enjoy conflict. And so that's our coping mechanism is we just get really good at saying, "Oh, okay," like we'll just please everybody else. And instead of worrying so much about that, set that worry aside. Let it be and just focus on what you need to do because it's okay to set boundaries and it's okay to tell people no.
for those who are listening, if you enjoyed this episode, if you know a woman who can benefit from hearing this conversation, please send it to her. Please share it because both Emily and I are doing it to help as many women out there to realize that they don't have to suffer through perimenopause. They don't have that suffering is optional. You know, there are physiological, psychological changes that are happening that are inevitable during perimenopause, but whether we suffer through it or not is not inevitable. How do people listening to this can find you?
I'm a massage therapist by trade. I am a very hands-on person, so technology does not I would say technology is not my first language.
Okay, but do you have a
I
website or
struggle. I don't have a website. I am on Facebook.
Facebook?
Just Alaska Wellness Woman is my business name. So Alaska Wellness Woman, if you look that up on Facebook, you'll find my page and you
And
can
do you
message
have
me
a
through
Google
that.
profile?
I don't even think I have a Google profile. Most of the work that I've done has been by word of mouth, been pretty amazing. I've seen clients from Alaska to New York City to Scotland to Crete solely by word of mouth. I've really not done
Amazing.
any advertising. So I think people are really they just want someone to listen. They don't feel like they're getting listened to by their doctors. And that's a powerful, powerful tool.
And this is what all this platform that I created is about, in her body platform, where women can be listened to, can feel like someone is actually hearing their story and putting dots together and seeing the full picture rather than just seeing a GP here, seeing a gynecologist here, seeing a nutritionist here, seeing a psychologist there, seeing some kind of spiritual mentor there or whatever. It's like all in one place. That Emily, thank you very much for the conversation. I am looking forward to the ones that are coming because we already agreed that we'll do a series of those, and there will be all of
Yes.
we'll talk about perimenopause in general, what's happening in women's body. We will talk about autoimmune conditions and how women are more prone to just different illnesses because of our female physiology, and how there are certain diseases that are more prevalent among women and how perimenopause is affecting that. And we will also talk about the fact that our bodies are designed to change through our life as women. And we'll talk about sex, and we'll talk about relationships, and we talk about lots of other things.
It's going
if
to be
you
super fun. I look forward to it.
but if you have any questions or any suggestions for us, what you would like us to talk about, please put it in comments or send us a message. We'll put both our contact details underneath. Okay, thank you so much. See you next time.
See you.